Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made these cute wood earrings, and then I'll show you how I made these not so cute leather earrings. Now, these are sublimated earrings, so you are really just limited by your imagination. You could put pictures of your kids on these, pictures of your dogs on these, you could put sayings on these, really anything that you can print out on a sublimation printer and add them to the wood. I'm going to divide the video into 4 parts. In the first part, I'm going to show you how I design these earrings in Inkscape, a free design software. In the second part, I'll show you how I cut them out with my Glowforge. Now, if you don't have a laser, you can purchase very inexpensive wood blank earrings off of Amazon, and I'll link to some of those in the video description. Then in the third part, I will show you how I prepped these for sublimation and how I sublimated them. And then finally, in the last part, I'm going to show you some sublimation fails and successes. And hopefully you'll learn from the fails and save some time and money. Now, all along the way, I'll add some information in the video so that if you want to skip a part, you'll know how far to skip ahead. Before I get started, thank you so much for your support through views, likes, questions, comments, using my Amazon link, and using my referral code for the Glowforge. Now, if you're interested in a Glowforge, I will have that referral link below. You would receive a discount, $250 off the Plus model and $500 off the Pro model. And then for your purchase, I would receive a referral fee, and I truly appreciate that. Now, Glowforge does not tell me who made the purchase. They give me a first name and a last initial. So if you use my referral link, please let me know so I can give you a proper thank you. Now let's get on with the video. Now the first part of my video is to show you how to make these oval earrings in Inkscape. So I'm going to click on the Inkscape icon, and notice all you see here is the template. And this is my default template. It's a 12 by 12 because I've mainly used Inkscape with my Cricut, and the mat is 12 by 12. I can go up here to File, Document Properties. Now notice it opened up a lot of options over here. We'll work with those in a little bit. All right, slide my document properties over, and let's go ahead and slide it over further so you can see how it affects my template here. I'm going to be printing on just US letter size, 8.5 by 11. So I click on that, and notice how that changed. You don't have to enter or anything like that. Now I can just hit the red X to get out of that. Now to make this larger, I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and while holding it down, I'm going to click on the key that has the plus sign. That makes it zoom in. I'm going to go over here to Shapes, or Circle, circles, ellipses, and arcs. I'll click on that, and then over here, I can just drag to approximately what I want. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn that black. This is the last color that I used, and even though I closed all the way out of Inkscape, it started up in that color. So I'll change my oval to black. Now, to change the size of this, I need to go up here to the Select tool, so I'll click on it. Notice now it's selected and there's lines around it. Also, the proportions are unlocked, which is what I want for now. If you like the proportions, just want to make it smaller, you could lock them. Then by dragging, everything stays the same proportion. It just gets smaller or larger, but I'm going to go ahead and unlock them. I want my height to be 2.25 inches. And then I want my width to be 1.6 inches. Now yours might have something other than inches here. If yours is showing millimeters and you know how to use inches, not millimeters, click on the arrow, hold your click button down, and then just drag up to inches. Okay, so there's the basic shape of my earring. I want my Glowforge to cut the little hole out of the top. So now I'm going to click on the circle again, and I'm going to draw just a small circle, and then I'll turn it a bright color so I can see it. Now remember to change the size or the shape. You have to go back up to Select, and then I want mine to be a perfect circle, and I want it to be 0.05 inches. So I'm going to change the width, then I'll tab over and change the height. and then I'll hit return, and it's exactly how I want it. Now I'm going to zoom in again. Hold the shift button down. While it's held down, hit the key with the plus sign. Okay, so once my little crossbow or my arrows, so once that shows up, in theory you can move your shape. Okay, I can. Sometimes it just doesn't quite work right, so you just have to try it a few times. But I want to put my hole just about right there. That's to put my fish hook through. Okay, so it's about where I want it from the top, but to get it to the center, I'm just going to drag my cursor around both shapes. That's selected both of them. It's hard to tell the little one is selected because the earring is black. But let me show you. If you were using like Cricut Design Space and you just touched the two shapes, they would both select. But watch on Inkscape, you only get the one you went all the way around. So I'll select all the way around both shapes. Then I'm going to click right here on Align and Distribute. If you don't see that over here, go up here to Object and down to Align and Distribute, and that will open up your Align and Distribute panel. Otherwise, I could have just clicked over here and it would have opened this up. So I want the little circle right in the middle of the big oval. So notice this picture here, center on the vertical axis. So I'm going to click on that, and my little circle should be centered. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and have my image on the computer show a hole here instead of a blue dot, I could select both items, go up here to Path, and say Difference. And that just became a hole. But on the Glowforge, if you bring two things in as separate layers, you can manipulate what cuts first and what cuts second. On this is just one layer, so I don't know if it would cut the outside first or the inside first, but I like to cut my little intricate things first. So I'm going to take it in as a separate layer so that I can tell Glowforge which to cut first. So in that case, I'm just going to click the back button, and there's my circle again. So for now, I'm done, because I can either duplicate this here or I can duplicate it in the Glowforge software, which is what I'll do. So I'll go to File, Save As. Now I've heard many people say that the Inkscape SVG works perfectly fine. I like to just select plain SVG. I feel like that's going to work in any software. I don't know the technical differences, but this is how I always save them, as a plain SVG. Then I'm going to name it Earring Oval 1.6 by 2.25. Then I'm going to go ahead and save that to my desktop. Now that I'm done, I can go ahead and just X out of Inkscape. And it's really trying to prompt me to save it as an Inkscape SVG. I've already saved it as a plain SVG, so I'll say Close Without Saving. So now I'm on the dashboard of my Glowforge. So I'm going to say Create, Upload from File, and then I'm looking for the one I just created, Earring Oval 1.6 by 2.25. So then I'll say Choose for Upload. Because of the next step in getting the earrings ready for sublimation, and you have to let what you put on them dry for quite a while, I previously cut out the pieces so that I could get them ready. But I'm going to go ahead and cut two more out right now. So I'm going to move my object over here. Now this piece of wood that's in my Glowforge, it's just a $1 piece of wood that I got from the Dollar Tree at Valentine's Day. You can also see that there's some masking paper on top, and I have it on the bottom. That helps from singe marks being on the front and the back of the earring. Alright, remember when I said I like to cut the intricate shapes first? So this little hole that you can barely see right there, I want it to cut first. Right now, it's below the oval, so Glowforge would cut the oval first, and then it would move on to the circle. So I'm going to select this layer, hold down on my mouse, and drag it to the top. And by doing that, my little circle will cut first. So now I need to go ahead and duplicate this shape. So I select it, hit Command C for copy, Command V for paste. And I'll just move it right beside the other one. Then I start by going up here to Unknown. This is not certified material from Glowforge, so I click on Use Uncertified Material and I enter the thickness. And when I go to the overhead view, I'll show you how I measured that. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the measurement 0.09 and submit it. For my settings, I want to click on Cut so Glowforge knows which of these options to do. Once I click on Cut, notice it just shows the outside line. Okay, while I'm still in the Settings panel, I'm going to click on Manual, and I'm going to do a speed of 225 and full power. And a lot of this is just through trial and error. I look at what other people have done on their YouTube videos, but a lot of the time in the end you just have to do a test cut and tweak it yourself. Okay, I just want one pass. Then I need to go down to my oval, click on Inner Settings. Again, I'm going to say Cut, go down to Manual, change my speed again to 225, and full power. So I'm ready to cut these. I click on Print. Then it's going to take a little while for my little spinny wheel to figure out how long it'll take to cut. The ones that I did earlier took 18 seconds, so I assume it's going to be the same, but we'll see. Okay, so 18 seconds. Okay, so this will take care of the wood pair. The leather pair, I use the exact same settings here. The only thing is I changed my thickness, and I believe my thickness for those was 0.06. I used my digital calipers to measure them, and again, I'll show you how to do that when I change the camera view. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my iPad downstairs and show you the cut. Okay, let's talk about a few things very quickly. What I used for my wood was just one of these wood blanks that you can get at the Dollar Tree store. Then what I coated my leather and my wood with was this polycrylic. It's a water-based finish. I've also tried to do it with polyurethane because someone online told me if you use this, your paper just pulls right off and you don't have to clean anything. So I tried that. That didn't work for me any better than the polycrylic. Here's examples of sublimating on polycrylic. Now on this one, the two sides probably look a little bit differently. This has a coat of Mod Podge on the top. The left side does not. The other thing is I painted it white with chalk paint before I sublimated it. So I painted with chalk paint, then I painted with polycrylic, a second layer of polycrylic. Then I did my sublimation, and then on this side, one coat of Mod Podge. This was just the natural color of the wood. It's the same pattern, but look at the difference. So you're going to get a more yellow effect if you don't paint your wood first. Now here's the one that I did with the polycrylic, and this paper backing would still come off. It's just that this paper was just as hard to get off as on the polycrylic. The polycrylic's water-based, cleans up easier, and quite frankly, when I used the polycrylic on my heat press, the smell was bad, there were fumes, I had to put my respirator on, and I'd rather just work with a water-based product. Okay, so here's the two that I have previously put 2 thin coats of polycrylic on. And then this is what just came out of the Glowforge. So it still has the masking paper on it. So I'm just going to pull that masking paper off. One thing I like about this wood is look how light it is. So the sublimation should come through less yellow on this than it did my previous ones. Here's the masking paper I use. You do need to use a paper product. Don't use a vinyl product. I'll link to this in the description of the video. And then here's the calipers. Now I've already taken my paper off, so this might measure slightly different, but you turn them on, and then when the jaws are together, if anything besides 0 shows there, just push the button to 0 it out. Then you pull them apart, and then push them back together, and that is 0.08. When I had my paper on it, it was 0.09, so that's why I used the 0.09 setting. So to prepare my earrings for sublimation, all I did was open this nasty sticky lid. I used just a long plastic spoon like you'd get at a restaurant, and I mixed it up, and I'm sure it's still plenty mixed up because this was just a few hours ago. And then I just put 2 very light coats. Make sure you get it all over the top. And I really like these foam brushes because they're easy to clean up, and if you use light enough coats, you're not going to see a lot of brush strokes. Okay, and that was it. So you can literally let this dry for about 5 minutes, then do a second light coat, and you're done. Now typically, I would let this dry overnight, but I didn't have time today to do that. So with my first sets, I cut them out this morning. Then I put my 2 coats of polyurethane on. I went to church. That's been about 4 hours ago. So we're going to try it. The other thing is I did set the ones that I had prepared earlier that I've only had drying for 4 hours. I did put them under an open heat press at 250 degrees for about 20 minutes. I thought maybe that would help harden the polycrylic. Okay, so after I put another coat on these, let them dry overnight, they'd be ready to sublimate. Okay, so here's the pattern. It's similar to the pink one that I showed you earlier. It came from the free bundle from designbundles.net, and it was free when I got it. It's just that it's blue. And this looks more muted than it will after we have the heat. I'm going to do one of my leather earrings and one of my wood earrings using my little Cricut Easy Press Mini. You could use a regular Cricut, doesn't need to be the Mini. And then the other leather and wood earring, I'm going to do those on my traditional heat press. That way I can see if there's really any difference. Now you're always supposed to use a lint roller on whatever you're sublimating. That's a step that sometimes I forget. Now I want to put what you call blowout paper below these. All that means is that you have something below it to catch the extra ink if anything goes on through. It's not going to go through these, but it might go to the side because I'm going to cut my pattern larger than my earrings. Okay, so I have my Cricut mat, then I have some parchment paper that came with some infusible ink. So I'm going to place this face side down. Actually, I think I'll tape it to my piece of wood first. This is just heat resistant tape that is meant to be used with high heat. And by taping it down, it's just going to help assure that we don't get a ghosting effect or a blurred effect. Hopefully, that's the plan. Then I have an old Teflon sheet that I cut up into really small squares. Now I'm going to start by heating this for 45 seconds. It's on high, and Cricut says high gets up to 400 degrees. So I'll start with 45 seconds and we'll check it. I just want to make sure that I actually get all the way on top of my piece of wood. Okay, I'm not sure why that has some moisture on it. Maybe it's just the steam that was coming up. Looks like that's it. Okay, so just like always, that is stuck down, so I can't really check it. Okay, to be on the safe side, I'm going to do this for 15 more seconds. Okay, so I'm just going to set that aside. We will reveal that later. Okay, I'm going to try just to peel it back a little bit so that I can see if I need more time. Well, I can see that I didn't have my heat press over the whole thing. That is one of the benefits of a traditional heat press or using a larger Cricut press. Okay, I'm just going to let that cool off, and then I will do the same process with these two earrings in the traditional heat press. I'm going to go ahead and start with the wood earring. I have some parchment paper, some craft paper, just to protect the mat that came with my heat press. Then I have my wood blank with my sublimation paper on it, more butcher paper, and then to cover my top platen, I have a Teflon sheet connected with magnets. Okay, so I'm going to do this for 45 seconds at 395. I have just a porcelain or ceramic tile here. I've put them on that. I'm going to let everything cool off for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll meet you back at the crafting table. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with the two that I did with the Easy Press Mini because they're already cool. Now I fully expect the wood to stick. It has stuck to sublimation paper every other time, despite which sublimation paper I've used. The leather, I'm not really sure. Oh, well, I guess it's not totally stuck. Now, there's going to be some paper backing on this that we'll have to clean off. Let's see how that goes. Oh, that came off a whole lot easier than I expected it to. Now, I think this is just paper. We'll see here in just a minute. Okay. Yeah, that was just the backing of the paper. So let me go ahead and dry this off. That's pretty. I like that. Now, if you could see it, got a little bit of paper here. Okay, if you could see it from my view, you'd be able to tell that there's a little coat of something on there. It might be a little paper backing, maybe it's just the sublimation ink where it sunk in. Is sunk a word? Well, where it went into the polycrylic maybe unevenly, or I don't really know. Maybe the polycrylic was higher in some levels, so the heat flattened it out and has a slightly different texture. However, once I add some Mod Podge to the top of that, it's going to look great. So, now let's check the leather. Okay, well I can tell it's sublimated. Let's look and see what happens when we add a little bit of water to that. I'm not sure if that was paper backing or again just the heat causing a little bit of distortion to the earring. Now here's the heat press ones. This is the wood one. Okay, that came off a lot easier than what it did the other day too. I'm not really sure what I'm doing differently. It didn't seem like I did anything differently. The one and only thing I can think of, well, no, two things. The two things I can think of that I did differently. When I tested this out, I did 3 coats, and I waited overnight. Today, I only waited, I don't know, 4 hours or so, and I only used 2 coats of polycrylic. Okay, so there's that color issue again. Let's see what happens if it comes off or not. And then when it dries, if it shows back up, like I can see it showing back up here. Then let's see what happens when we add Mod Podge. Okay, so let's keep the 2 heat press ones together and the 2 easy press ones together. Now I really want you to see that color distortion, and I think it's hard for you to, the way the camera's straight above them with the light on them. But here I think you can probably see it. So I'm just going to put some matte Mod Podge on. You could use matte, shiny, glossy, whatever it is, whatever you want. I get these little bottles at the Dollar Tree. I like to hold earrings in place with a little toothpick. Okay, so that's one of the leather pieces. That's the one that was heated in the heat press. Then this is the wood that was heated in the heat press. There, I still had some paper backing on it, and I think I finally got it off. Okay, now this is the leather that was done with the Easy Press Mini. And then lastly, the wood that was done with the Easy Press Mini. Okay, I'm going to do one of each with Mod Podge Glossy, just so we can compare. And that's way too much. I'll take some of that off. Okay, I'm going to use a really soft bristled brush to remove some of that and just get rid of the brush strokes. Okay, I'm going to let those dry about 5 minutes, go clean up my brushes, and then we'll compare. Okay, that last one's not quite dry, but I'm going to go ahead and start comparing. Now, the 2 bottom ones were done with the heat press, the 2 top ones were done with the Easy Press. And my reaction to this whole process, I'm not thrilled with how this came out on leather. It did work. It's just, I see a lot of textural issues with the leather. So, it worked, but I don't love it. With the wood, I love it. Now this is the one with the matte Mod Podge. This is the one with the glossy Mod Podge. And I thought I would like the glossy one better, and that's why I added it, but I really like the matte better. Even though I tried to get the brush strokes out, I can still see kind of where they are. And the matte, I just can't. That dried to a much smoother finish. Okay, so let's start on the last part of the video. I want to run very quickly through some successes, but mostly fails. Okay, all of these were done with the spray polyurethane. I will not use polyurethane again because I really did not like the fumes that it put off. And it didn't work so well. This is on just a subway tile. Now, you can use a method where you put laminate sheets on the tile. I will do a video of that. Because you can kind of see the laminate sheet on the tile, I was hoping this would work and be a little bit more authentic feeling, but it didn't. Now this was also polyurethane. That's on cork fabric. That actually worked, but again, I'm not going to use the polyurethane again because of the odor. This worked. This was polyurethane and the sublimation paper. And on this one and this one alone, on my experiments, this paper came right off. And it looks really good as long as you don't mind the tones of the wood coming through. And then lastly, this is a piece of MDF. And look how burnt the white paint looks on this. I just wasn't happy with that at all. Okay, so that's my polyurethane pile. Polycrylic. Couple of attempts with it. I got it to work over here, and then this half of the picture, let me do this. This half of the picture, I put some Mod Podge on the top. This half does not have Mod Podge. These were all polycrylic. Again, it does sublimate, but it just was not a success. And no matter how long I waited, it just didn't work well. Okay, that looks like it burnt like the polyurethane, but I am pretty sure that was polycrylic. This was polycrylic, didn't work so well. Oh, here's another polyurethane. It worked, but look how brown it is. It burns the polyurethane. So that did transfer well, but it doesn't look good. Okay, this was polyurethane. And see all the paper backing? I could get that off. It's just that I knew I was not going to use polyurethane again because of the strong odor. Even when I used my respirator, I just didn't feel secure with it. Okay, these I think were the best things that I did. These are both polycrylic. Polycrylic with no white paint under it. Polycrylic with white paint under it. This side does not have a top coat of Mod Podge. This side does. And then back to today's project. The wood, which turned out very, very nice. This is the gloss Mod Podge. This is the matte. And then the leather, which worked, but it just doesn't look very good. The texture of it just doesn't look right. Glossy, matte. All right, thanks so much for joining me and sticking it out till the end. Until the next video. Bye-bye.